Hi, Mike from the Fulcrum here. Long time no see. Those millions of people that follow my feed wondering where I've been. Well, it's just a simple matter of seizing the day every day. The weather's been simply too great, and the temptations of hopping in my Miata and taking Cyrus Muttley here, there, and everywhere, well, the weather's this nice, has sort of taken precedent. Of course, now though, we're into September 2nd. Weather's starting to cool off a bit. Still a bit on the warm side, so I thought I'd start recording again. We're back at Massasauga Point, taking a walk around. Cyrus is a little bit tired of the same old trees. Like I said, it's a thoroughly gorgeous day. I'm gonna make a quick trip back to the quarry. Best spot back here at Massasauga Point. A lot of people don't even know it's there. I know I came here a couple of years before I found it. But they're continually putting new trails in through here. I can't stress the importance of the concept of seizing the moment. If doing something gives you great joy, put it on the top of your list. Provided, of course, it's legal and doesn't harm anybody else. But put that in the top of your agenda. Get out and enjoy it. Because as always, none of us know how much time we have, when the weather's going to change. And with the current world climate, things are a little bit scary. I know we hear of supply shortages, particularly in Europe, price of electricity going through the roof. I was reading the other day that some traditional fish and chip places that have been in business like 2 and 3 generations are having to shut down because they can no longer afford to keep their fryers going with electricity required. And it doesn't look like anything's going to change until this whole situation in Ukraine is settled one way or the other. What you don't hear on the news is that the world is a very finely balanced place. Right now we have like about a 5% surplus of just about everything in a market that used to be called just in time. The idea that no one kept any inventory because trucks were coming in every day. Saved on space, seemed more efficient. But they're starting to find out that the idea of shipping goods from halfway around the world that you ship raw materials to for them to build is not such a great idea. The idea that we'll grow all the potatoes and you grow all the tomatoes doesn't work in a time of energy crunches and transportation issues. I know myself, I could see a lot of this coming. I put a big garden in this year, and pretty much all summer as soon as things came up to harvest level, I've been living off them. Big garden full of potatoes, tomatoes, peas, beans, all kinds of salad mixes. I go out in the morning and pick a batch. I've been doing down tomato sauce pretty much every day. I fill the pot, put it on low, let it cook down almost to the point of tomato paste. I've just been freezing it for use. So I really don't have the room at this point to store a lot of canned goods, like self-canned goods. So even if I live off the garden for a good portion of the year and have my pantry stocked, puts me in a good position. It's actually a little bit hot today. As you can see, clear blue sky, not a cloud anywhere. I follow a number of financial and lifestyle pundits online in traditional media, and the general consensus is it's going to be a winter like modern society hasn't experienced in quite a while. You talk, like I say, supply shortages, energy shortages, government leaders standing up there, well, this is going on, more worried about funding for gender studies than whether you're going to have enough heat and electricity to keep you through the winter. A lot of pandering to who will vote you in for the next election, and not a whole lot of common sense. What history has taught us about common sense is that if you're a weak nation that depends on other countries for your survival, you're just a puppet in a pawn. Eventually you will cave in and be taken over by somebody else, whether by military force or economically. So taken to a personal level, I suggest that if you have any debt load at all that you can eliminate it. Interest rates are going to come up and even further degrade any savings you might have by devaluing your dollar. This forest-like society is in transition. Years ago this was all open pasture farmland, marginal though because of the amount of rock in the soil. Left to its own devices, of course it went through a series of growths with buckthorn and cedar, and now it's starting to give way to hardwoods. They've been doing major reforestation back here with hardwoods. As you can see from the saplings in here, putting in trees that were native to the area, maple and oak. The ones they have put in that have grown up big enough to seed are starting to promote more growth the way nature intended. The world is also in transition, supposedly trying to convert to green energy, and it's not going according to plan. Shutting down traditional sources of energy before the new ones are really up fully and running. A recipe in disaster when you have people running things that have never actually built anything or maintained anything. It's a real hazard. It's somebody who's a career politician who's never picked up a shovel since they were in high school, or maybe never for that matter, is a dangerous thing. Any major changes in society, you have to consult everybody, including the people that feed them, like the farmers. The idea that tell farmers they have to cut their fertilizer use by 30% in a world that we have a 5% surplus for most things means we're going to have a 25% reduction in foodstuffs worldwide. Which means a good 25% of the population is going to be in big trouble. Which of course, if you extrapolate that, people that go hungry for very long can't feed their kids, get a little bit angry. Then the riots start, revolutions start, then the iron hammer comes down from the powers that be that control the police and the military. Yeah, that doesn't work. Of course, they all hop on their planes and fly out to a next point of safe haven, guaranteed to them by other politicians, world government leaders that let them come in because they realize that at some point they might have to cut and run too and have somewhere to go. It was the case of Sri Lanka, where the government last couple of years was touted as being the greenest one on the planet, going to be a great success. Well, now they're basically bankrupt, no fuel, people can't get enough to eat, crops are down, huge percentages, people lined up at gas stations, and of course the ruling members having to cut and run, with the public going in, raiding the palace and swimming in the pool. The great unwashed have come home to the House of Government. This is going to happen in a lot of places. Maybe even here, to a certain extent. You can see here the young oaks coming up. These are all from seed. They actually weren't transplanted. Who knows, that might be the future right there. No gasoline, hoist the sails. The peasants are revolting, get out in the middle of the bay where they can't get at you, at least till it freezes up and all the ice comes. And I guess you could sail south, like the birds. I have to come back here without Cyrus Muttley in the next week. Pick from the wild grape here. Tons of wild grape. Make some wild grape jelly. All free stuff. And look at that view. It's easy to forget the world's troubles when you get out like this. That's why you have to do it. Regardless of what we're doing, nature just keeps on trucking. Human race is always only one generation away from extinction. And we're doing a pretty good job of ending ourselves. When it comes down to that, those that survive are going to have that kind of mindset that we have to balance things with nature. We can't fight it. We're just a blip on the horizon in the great chain of time. So as usual, think clearly, breathe deeply. Enjoy your day. Spread the good vibes. The world needs them. This is Mike from the Fulcrum.